Well, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has just touched down in the US for a 4-day visit. It will culminate with a state dinner in his honour at the White House. But the PM already has one eye on his next overseas trip to China next month. Sky News political editor Andrew Clennell was travelling with the Prime Minister and filed this report.
There could hardly be a more important time for an Australian Prime Minister to visit Washington in a period of global instability and before a historic visit to China. Anthony Albanese has touched down in the American capital less than a fortnight before he is due in Beijing to meet President Xi Jinping, the first such visit by an Australian leader in 7 years. The AUKUS submarine deal and relations with China are to be a key part of Mr Albanese's talks with President Biden, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin. There will also be meetings with congressmen to attempt to convince them to pass legislation allowing the nuclear submarines agreement AUKUS to proceed. But a scheduled address to Congress by the PM was cancelled after the House failed to elect a Speaker once again. The PM spoke about all this prior to taking off for America.
Our AUKUS pact is absolutely critical, and I'll be having important meetings with members of Congress and Senate about the legislation that's required to ensure that AUKUS can continue to forge ahead. President Biden's agenda is one that we support, and we will be urging support for all of the legislation that is required for AUKUS.
But Shadow Defence Minister Andrew Hastie urged the government to get on with AUKUS.
We are behind on AUKUS. The Senate and the Congress, they'll have a lot of questions for our Prime Minister, and he's got to maintain the confidence of the US, particularly as they're preparing to hand over the crown jewels of their military secrets in the form of nuclear power submarines.
The big day in this trip is Wednesday or Thursday Australian time, when there will be a visit to the Oval Office, a joint press conference with the President and a state dinner in Australia's honour scheduled. In all, the Prime Minister will deliver 8 speeches during the 4-day trip, but they won't all be open to the public. The identity of the Australian identities attending the state dinner remains closely guarded, but one Canberra source has told Sky News Australian of the Year and founder of the body image movement, Taryn Brumford, will be among business and sports leaders in attendance. In times of crisis and uncertainty, allies need each other. That's the backdrop to this week of meetings for the Australian PM with American leaders and officials.